I can hear something calling, it's calling me every day. If taking a chance is a crime, then I've got hell to pay. I've been walking the streets in my mind, trying to find a new day. Keep on searching until I will find, until I find a new way. I'm gonna say something, I hope you don't mind. It's time to rearrange. I walk round in circles, I'm going nowhere. It's time to make a change.
Hey, Mark, how's it going? Welcome back. Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back, mate. It's good to be back.
Yeah, well, as we just said a little bit here before we started, I'm not going to rehash everything we talked about the first episode. There is a first episode out if anybody wants to check it out. More importantly, though, if you really don't know who Mark is and you want to check out his story, there is tons of content out there on his own site that is probably way more worthy to check out than the episode that I did with Mark. So check that out. But Mark, that being said, maybe just a real brief introduction before we kick it off.
All right, so I am, well, my full name is Mark Ormrod. I am, as you can probably tell from my accent, not American. I'm from the UK. I'm a former Royal Marine Commando, joined the military age 17 in February 2001, finished my training 4 weeks after 9/11. So straight out of training, straight to the sharp end of the spear, deployed to Iraq in 2003 on Operation Talik 1 at 19 years old. Came home, took a brief hiatus from the military after my now 19-year-old daughter was born. Failed miserably as a civilian, had a relationship breakdown. So went running back to the warm embracing bosom of the Royal Marines and went straight into pre-deployment training for a 6-month tour of Afghanistan on Operation Herrick 7, where 3 months into that 6-month tour, I was second in command of a section of 8 men out on a routine foot patrol. And on the way back into Forward Operating Base Robinson, I stood on and detonated an improvised explosive device, which traumatically removed both of my legs above the knee and my right arm above the elbow, giving me the unenvious title of the UK's first triple amputee from the conflict. So that's a bit of the backstory. And then rehabilitation, yada, yada, yada. Rebuilt my life, grew my family, and went on an adventure.
Yeah, and what an adventure, Mark. Like I said, from before the first episode till now, I follow your content daily. And, there's days where if I'm feeling shitty for myself, man, I'll look at some of your content and it will always get me feeling better. And you do a great job with it. So say it right now, I want and hope people who aren't following you that they do. So Mark, since the last time we talked, I mean, you've still been crushing it and doing some really, really amazing things that I know it inspires me. I'm sure it really inspires other people too. I wanted to start with, it's about 2 years ago, I want to say maybe 2022. This swim you did, the 1 kilometer. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate that my circles of friends consist of a lot of veterans. So people with a similar mindset that have walked a similar path, do similar things. And we all help and support each other and push each other on to be better mentally and physically and to give to the community. And my coach, who's also a former Royal Marines Commando, was a physical training instructor while he was in the Marines. And we've been training together since 2017, figuring out what I can and can't do, how I adapt certain things. And one of the things that we did was open water swimming. We started it back during the COVID lockdowns to get out and to experience the cold water benefits. It was about a year and a half ago, I think. Not Christmas just gone, but the Christmas Eve before that. We wanted to do something to mark the anniversary of me getting injured, which was Christmas Eve back in 2007. And we had swam before, so I knew I was capable of doing it. I enjoyed it. We had a community wrapped around it. So we decided to set a world record, which was for the fastest 1 kilometer open water sea swim using just one arm. The difficulty with Guinness World Records is there aren't specific categories for disabled people. You have to compete against able-bodied people. So I thought, okay, where is my perceived disadvantage actually an advantage? And there were records for people that had swam distances using just their arms, but there weren't any for people that had used just one arm. I'd seen videos of people that had basically handcuffed their ankles together, but used both their arms, but no one had handcuffed their ankles and handcuffed the hand behind their back. So I thought, okay, I'll give that a shot. And I applied for this record. They came back and confirmed that it didn't exist. I knew I could swim a kilometer anyway. And the beauty of it was there was no pressure of having to beat a time because it didn't exist. And what I found with swimming, how it's different to the other things I do, like Brazilian Jiu-jitsu or functional fitness, it's all about relaxation. So with no pressure of a time to beat, I was totally chilled and relaxed and literally just, set about this record as chilled as possible, just as another swim. I ignored the crowds and there were hundreds of people there watching, but I just went into my own little headspace, which is also really great when you're underwater because you are in your own little world. You've got to concentrate on your breathing and your stroke. And I just went out for what I looked at as a really relaxed swim with the lads. Set the record. I think we did it in 33 minutes. I don't know if that's good or not. But we went out there, we did what we had to do, and we set a world record. And now I'm just encouraging people to beat it.
It's amazing. You say, is it good or not? I think it's amazing. I mean, listen, I have all 4 limbs. If I try to swim for 33 minutes, I'm going to sink to the bottom, man. They'll be pulling my ass out. So great on you, man. So you kind of start to touch on it. And I did want to ask you this. So the swim, a lot of the things you do, I know when we talked the first time, you were kind of, in my opinion, you were really just starting out on what I'll call your social media journey and some of the other things that you were doing, but you really are an inspiration. And I mean, do you have any stories, Mark, where directly that you've inspired someone else, and how did that feel?
Yeah, no, over the years, I've been at it for 15 years now on all different platforms. And I'm not what they call a creator or an influencer or any of these things. I just document parts of my life and share it with the world. I mean, in the hope that it might help and inspire some people. And over the years, I have had hundreds of messages and DMs and emails from people saying that the stuff that I put out there has, I hate saying this, has inspired or motivated them from a dark place. And I'm not just talking about amputees. I'm not just talking about veterans. I'm talking about anyone from any walk of life, from any part of the planet who has been struggling, has seen stuff and reached out. And it does feel good, because I wouldn't say it was completely my intention. I don't just go out there and make videos of stuff because with that being my primary aim. I do it because I enjoy it and it's fun. I don't put any pressure on myself, and I just want to share my journey with people and help if I can. And as a byproduct, if that does motivate and inspire people, then it's a double win. So yeah, I do a lot of different things on a daily basis. So there's plenty to choose from, plenty to lay down and put out there.
Yeah, because there's days where I see your content and I'm inspired. I live in Philadelphia, so there's days where to me it's almost like when I was younger, like Rocky, right? I get so inspired by things you do. But Mark, there's other times where I just find myself like I'm laughing my ass off because I know that you're having so much fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I even see lately when you're involving your kids and just it's fantastic, man. And I love the approach. All right, so to get serious for a little bit here, I also saw that you were appointed ambassador for Veterans Games. Can you talk about that role a little bit? What involves there, and also how important you think it is to promote like the rehabilitation among veterans by being involved in such platforms like that?
Do you mean the Veterans Foundation?
Yeah, the Veterans Foundation. Sorry.
Yeah. So over the years, so it's been 16 years now since I've been injured, and I've been involved with numerous military charities, and they all do different things. Some are mental health, physical health, homelessness, addictions, all this kind of stuff. And what really caught my attention about the Veterans Foundation is they're a charity, but they're a grant giving organization. So the money that goes to them through either donations or they have a lottery, through subscriptions to the lottery, they then give grants to all the other military charities. So it feels like being involved with them, you're not just helping one organization, you're helping thousands. And that's what I loved about it. I just wanted to help promote what they do because it could help anything from a bereaved family to a guy or girl dealing with homelessness. They do great work, and the lottery's fantastic because you pay in with the potential of winning money. And I know actually two of people that I know have won. One won £50,000, one won £7,500. But you pay in to this lottery, and you can feel good that your money's going to a good cause. Then you might even win money, and then you're like, whoa,
Right.
yeah, it's a double win. I thought it's such a great idea. I don't know why no one has done this a long time ago. Maybe they have. I just haven't heard about it. But I certainly want to promote this. The only bummer of it is I doubt I'll ever win. And if I do, I can't really take the money because it doesn't look right. So I'd have to give it back, you know? But I get a lot of satisfaction out of being involved with them.
Mark, that reminded me a little bit back here growing up in the 80s. We would go to like we had beef and beers for
Okay.
benefits. It was legit. You paid $10, brought a cup, got a roast beef sandwich, and there was a keg of beer. That was a beef and beer. But they did 50-50s
Right.
where you bought a chance, the benefit could win the money and they would split it with you. That wasn't true. Because if you won, you were supposed to give your winnings back anyway. So,
Got
but it was
got
still it was good though because you would feel good that you were helping something or whatever the cause was.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm into jujitsu, MMA. I've trained, done that myself. I watching you do jujitsu, it just really it's something pretty incredible to me. And I saw a video just the other day. You were literally on the mat with UFC champ Tom Aspinall. I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about that journey through jujitsu because over the last year or two I've watched, I see you get promoted. I think I saw you get your purple belt. Am I? Yeah, so
Yep.
I got your purple belt, and I know how difficult that is. Let's talk about that because I think jujitsu for fully able-bodied people is just it really brings you down to earth. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I started training in 2017. I was approached by another now former Royal Marine who was again a physical training instructor. He was the head of Royal Marines unarmed combat, so he taught all the Marines in the UK the unarmed combat syllabus. He was a purple belt himself. Then he's now a black belt, and he in the physical trainer world specialized in rehabilitation of guys with injuries. So he kind of mixed all of his passions, rehabilitation, jiu-jitsu, and everything like that. And when he saw me, he was like, this is like the perfect storm. I got this injured guy. I love jiu-jitsu. Maybe I can help, rehabilitate him a bit. And he took me down to, he called it the combat room. And it was a squash court. And it was just filled with mats that were mask and taped together. And that was it. No windows, no like skylight, nothing, just this dark room filled with mats where he took me and introduced me to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, prior to being injured, from the age of 12 to 24, I competed in Thai boxing, full contact kickboxing, and I boxed for the Marines. So I had a bit of a background in martial arts. And by reintroducing martial arts into my life, he gave me back something that I thought I'd lost forever. And I almost instantly fell in love with it. After I, recovered from, I felt terrible after the first session because, sick, motion sickness from being upside down and inverted and everything. But once I got over that, I realized that he had showed me a sport that I could legitimately progress in. It would take, adaptation and some thought, but I could legitimately train and progress in this sport based on hard work and effort. And that's what I've done. I've tried to figure out over the years, like you said, I've progressed in the last 7 years to purple belt. I've competed a couple of times against some able-bodied people. I've managed to get a gold, a silver, and a bronze in the competitions that I've had success in. I competing isn't my main aim in this. I think for me, it's just about progression and learning and being in that community. But one thing I'll say about it, like, even if you start on the journey and you never really feel like you're getting good at it, what I think you gain from it is a huge level of resilience, of just showing up all the time and just getting tapped out and battered by 15-year-olds and choked out by women, and your ego just smashed to pieces. And you have to just keep a sense of humor, know that that's part of it, understand that, no matter how big, tough, strong you think you are, you're going to get hammered by someone half your size, but you just keep showing up. And it's something I feel every single person on the planet can benefit from is that increased resilience, because, I might get a bit of abuse for this comment, but life can be quite comfortable nowadays with smartphones and Ubers and, food delivered to your door. We can get too comfortable and we can lose that resilience that we had when we were cavemen and women running around trying to hunt for our food. And jiu-jitsu, I think, gives that back to you. If you can just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up, even if you feel like you're terrible at it, you're still gaining resilience by showing up and just toughing it out. And that's what I think one of the magic things of the sport is.
Yeah, well, I mean, just watching you it's definitely inspiring and motivating. And I think the biggest compliment I can give you is, over the couple years that I've been watching you do it, I mean, Mark, there's times now where I see you doing jiu-jitsu and I kind of don't look at it like there's a guy who's disabled doing jiu-jitsu. Like, you're on there legit rolling. And I mean, I want anybody who doesn't understand jiu-jitsu to understand, to get your purple belt with, whether it's all your limbs, one limb like Mark, it is an accomplishment, and he's really doing it. Mark, I do have to ask, because I am a bit of a fanboy, and if he hears this, Tom, huge fan, Tom Aspinall. When you were rolling with him, I mean, what was that like, the strength wise, man? I mean, he just looks like an absolute monster.
Yeah, I was very aware that I had to hold back a lot. I didn't want to hurt him. I know he hasn't got much experience, and no, he's a gentleman. Like, he didn't. So Sam, who I just talked about, was with me as well. And so me and Tom had a role, and, he was being very respectful of me, and he let me do this, that, and the other. And I knew that, right? he had nothing to prove. And then I saw him roll with Sam, and I saw Sam's face, the pressure he was putting on Sam, and I was like, damn, this guy is like, and you know he's another level anyway. He's a UFC heavyweight champion. But even with Sam, I think he was only maybe in second gear.
Mm.
And just to see what a human being can do, it just, this is what I love about it. You know, it's scary. It's scary. I left there thinking how scary it would be, even if you're a big, strong, heavyweight professional fighter as well. It would be scary to be stood across a cage from him, knowing that he is not going to hold back for the next 15 to 25 minutes in this fight. That would terrify me. But he was such a gentleman as well. Took us out to eat after, him and his dad and some of his teammates. We went and got some food and talked. Great experience.
That is fantastic. Oh, and I'm just warning you bluntly, you created the greatest soundbite ever. I will be posting you saying that. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
That is definitely gonna happen. Well, really good stuff there. So I know I've seen you talk a little bit about some parallels and the camaraderie in the military and the BJJ community. How do you think sharing these bonds, Mark, contribute to recovery and rehabilitation, especially for those with a physical and or psychological injury?
So with a physical injury, one of the things that I have really taken away from jiu-jitsu is it removes those limitations of what you think you can and can't do when you have a physical injury. And I think that the easiest to articulate example I can give is like my right arm. You know, it's amputated above my elbow. I do wear a prosthetic from time to time, but apart from that, you think that it's just useless because there's no hand on there. When you do jiu-jitsu and you're using it, you know, up here to defend yourself from a choke, or you're jabbing it into somebody's throat and they're like gargling underneath you, or you use it as a way to tap them out. And you realize then actually how every part of your body can be used, even your shoulders. You know, when you're grinding it into somebody's face and turning their head away from you using the shoulder. Prior to that, I'd never even thought about using them, not just as tools at jiu-jitsu, but in my life. So now, you know, I can put on my amputated arm like a shopping bag and then carry another shopping bag in my good hand and walk from the car and save myself a trip. You know what I mean? And you stack those trips up over the time and you save yourself 100 trips to and from the car. I use them when messing around with the kids. You know, my daughter now has got this thing where when we go to bed at night, I have to fight with her for like 10 minutes, you know, and you can use it to tickle them and play around. And those are memories that you create that they'll remember, you know, for the rest of their lives. In terms of the mental side of it, you know, we're tribal animals, right? We gravitate towards people that are like us. I think that's why military bonds are so strong. You go through these shared hardships together through your training, through courses, through exercises, operations, and deployments, and you create these bonds. In my experience, they're hard to replicate in the civilian world. There's not much, you know, you can get certain groups and circles in your job and your career and, you know, maybe a sport, but this sport's different because you do have to go through, like the military, those shared hardships together. You all start on day one as a white belt, and you all get your ego smashed, and you have successes and failures along the way. You get humbled along the way. You share your successes along the way, and that creates unique bonds as well, I feel. And that's why I think this community for me is so similar to the military, is because you all start on day one. You all go through the grading and the rank structure, white belt, blue belt, purple belt, etc. You all, you know, collect medals and commiserate losses, and it bonds you, you know, in a way that not much else can. So
Mhm.
on a mental side of things, when you're feeling that you don't have that tribe and you're feeling a little bit on your own and you're feeling like no one understands you and you've got nothing that you're passionate about that you can share with other people, you do jiu-jitsu and you find that family.
Man, that's well said. As you were saying, and I was thinking my own journey involvement in martial arts, things like that. I couldn't agree more. I think that was spot on.
Mm,
Mark, you touched on it a little bit, and I know we talked last time about it. And obviously, from your injury, your recovery, we talked a little bit about going through some of those dark places. How nowadays, I mean, seeing you, we obviously don't get to see Mark maybe at his worst or if he's feeling at his worst, but like Mark, are there times still where you do experience some dark places and not from, the injury itself, but just in general life, and how do you deal with that?
absolutely, 100%. And thank you for asking that, because I think it's very important uh, that we talk about stuff like that more as a society, because social media can very much paint a picture of people that isn't necessarily the whole picture. And I'm a human like everyone else, and I have shit times like everyone else. And the way I look at it now, it's like a journey. Someone said to me once, I don't know if I read it or heard it on a podcast or something, but in those dark times, it's like having a bow and arrow and drawing back the bow. You kind of have to draw back the bow before you can launch the arrow forward. And that's how I literally look at tough times now in my life. It's like whenever I'm a little bit down or I'm not making progress or I get rejected for whatever it is I'm doing, if I'm trying to get a TV thing going on or a book deal or something, I used to get down about that. Now I'm like, okay, that's just me drawing back the bow. And I might have to draw that bow back 50 times before I can launch that arrow forward. But I know now that it's all part of the journey. And sometimes in a little bit of a sick, twisted way, I kind of look forward to it and want it because I know that it's temporary and that it's part of the process to fire me forward to where I want to be. So I've put out requests to book publishers, quite a few over the months about a book that I want to write that I am writing. And they're all coming back saying, no, no, not interested, not interested, not good enough, not looking for it this time. And I'm like, cool. Every no that I get leads me closer to getting a yes.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And there's 1,000 examples of famous people through history. I mean, in the book, while J.K. Rowling's a perfect example. She got turned down a million times. Now look at her.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
And you just got to embrace the rejection, embrace the slightly low times, and know that they're part of the journey. It's great to have a support system around you. Like I said, I've got many circles of cool people that I can reach out to chat to talk to get advice and support from. That's quite important as well, I believe. And talking is hugely underrated, um, and an incredibly powerful tool when you're dealing with tough times.
Yeah, Mark, I couldn't agree more. I mean, even this podcast, part of the mission of the network I'm a part of, NGBN, it's about mental health and really, you know, it's still a passion project for me, but you mentioned it. It's just to get people talking and show the power of conversation. And it's men like you who come on here and really do that. So thank you. And Mark, I have to talk about this because the number just keeps growing. Are you're a fundraising machine in my eyes, man, and the good that you accomplish. I think if I get this figure wrong, just like, nope, it's this. But is it like 600,000 pounds roughly now that I saw that you've raised to date in your charity work? I think specifically with reorg.
Okay, so that's my Just Given page. That was specifically for reorg. It's at nearly 700,000. But if you took all the other stuff over 15 years, for different charities, you're looking close to 5 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it. Well, I've done it for the last 15 years, and I started doing it in a bit of a selfish way. When I was first injured, I was very keen to see what I could do physically, because being a Royal Marine is very much a physical job, and my entire identity was wrapped up in my physicality. So it was really for me in the beginning. And I wanted to raise a little bit of money to give back to these charities, but that wasn't the focus. The focus is what can I do? And then when I realized it was a really powerful way of raising money, I was like, okay, cool. I can take my selfish desire to see how far I can run, how far I can swim, how far I can cycle. I can use it to raise money selflessly to help men and women and families in a situation like mine. And it was like the perfect storm. And so I just kept on doing it. I just kept on having ideas for ways to raise money, kept on using my social media to promote it. Eventually the mainstream media got on board, and they really helped to push it out, and, nationwide and worldwide. And yeah, I think now it's probably just coming up to like 5 million or something like that.
Man, kudos to you, man. That is impressive, and it's amazing. And I can only imagine, just thinking about the ways that money has helped so many families over the years. That just is really, really amazing. And what a good job
You know
by
what's
you.
great about it as well is when other veterans have been involved and supported me on things, that's helped them as well. So they'll come out on the bike rides and be like, "Oh, this is great being part of a team again, pushing myself." So it's not just about the money.
Mm-hmm.
The ripple effects that it had. The swim was great. There were hundreds of us training for that, like day on day on day. Different people were turning up. People that had never swam in the ocean before. They were getting the benefits of not just the physical activity, but the cold water benefits, the community benefits. That it's just like it's the ultimate perfect storm for the world that I live in. It was great.
Yeah, again, like I said, you doing so much good, my friend, doing so much good. I wanted to talk about, it's easy, I think, with you, Mark, to talk about the physical and see you overcome all these physical challenges. And I think that's what a lot of people think about. Um, I noticed, I think it was a year ago, I think I may have even promoted it at one point with the podcast, but you were doing a talk. I believe it was at night with Mark Ormrod, where you
Yeah.
were actually, I thought that was really, to me, I thought that was really incredible. And I wanted to ask, how have you grown? I mean, the physical, yeah, it's easy. We talk about that stuff, but the, like, professionally in other areas of your life outside of the physical, because I think who Mark is today, from me watching your journey just over 2 years, it's pretty amazing to see who you are now compared to who you were when I first spoke to you 2 years
Mhm.
ago.
Thank you, mate. That's very kind. Um, yeah, so over the years, I did they call it motivational speaking, like keynote speaking, sharing my story, and that's took me around the world, which is great. And then, to me, it was a little bit like I sat there and thought, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Like, I love sharing my story and helping people and answer questions, but I need variety. I need to be fresh and doing cool stuff all the time. So I kind of developed it into my own, like that thing you saw the evening with, where it's more of a low key thing. People buy tickets, and it's quite an intimate fireside chat style event where I can answer questions and everything like that. Um, I've been fortunate over the years to meet some incredible people that have opened up some doors and created opportunities. So now I'm focusing quite a lot on business. Literally after this, I'm shutting up the laptop, driving to London. I've got 2 days of networking. I'm on a entrepreneurs mastermind weekend. So meeting new people, doing some courses, developing different areas of my professional life behind the scenes. I've created support groups online that are monetized, and membership sites where I create unique content around mindset, habits, routines, personal development, resilience, confidence, overcoming anxiety, all these kind of things that I've learned over the years. And I've found ways to earn an income from it. So I turned 40 last year, and I completely changed my mindset. All this stuff that we've talked about that I've done over the years has been fundraising focused, and it's either been free because you don't really get paid in that world, or it's actually cost me money sometimes. It's especially cost me time. So when I got to 40, I was like, okay, right, now I'm switching my focus for the next 10 years and I'm focusing on business. How can I take everything that I've done over the years, the people I've met, the experiences I've gained, and turn it into like a business? So there's a million different ways you can do that. I can run weekend courses taking civilians that want to improve their mindset and just trash them all weekend on like military style exercises, getting them cold and wet and exercising them and giving them a little bit of a military experience. I can work as a speaker. I can coach one-on-one with people about mindset and resilience. I can create these groups that I've talked about where it's not one-on-one, but people come to an environment where there are like-minded people um, all over the world, and they pay to be in those groups, and they get access to some people that are maybe dealing with similar things that they've dealt with or have overcome them and can support them. Writing books, ebooks, digital books, physical books. I'm doing a lot of that at the minute. Podcasting. I've got my own podcast to do with the Army veteran, and I'm going to start potentially another one. And I've figured out ways to monetize that now and earn an income from that. So it's great. My whole mindset behind this now is, and I said this the other day on a podcast, I have no shame anymore in admitting this. I used to, partly because of my upbringing and personality, but partly as well because I think I'm British, but we don't really talk about money. And I've got no shame now in saying that I'm going to dedicate the next 10 years of my life to making an immense amount of money, of wealth, because in my mind, and this goes back to the messages and the emails and the DMs that we talked about, that people have reached out and said that potentially stuff has inspired them. I want people to look and say, this guy's got four fingers and a thumb and a smartphone. And yet he's figured out how in 2024 and beyond, how through using technology and leveraging the internet, he can make money and kind of get outside of the system of having a 9 to 5 job or any job at all when you've got 3 limbs missing. And if he can do that, then absolutely anybody can do it. That's what I'll get goosebumps now, even thinking about it. That's what I wanted. I want someone to come to me and go, Mark, I saw you with one hand earn X amount of money, do these things. If you can do it, then anyone can. And I've got what I think you call it high school. I left school at 16. I've got a high school education, 10 years in the military, and then 15 years of trying to figure my life out as a triple amputee. I've never been to university. I'm not a businessman. I don't have rich network with rich parents. I've now developed these networks with successful people, but I'm just a regular dude trying to figure it out. And it excites me to think what we can do.
You know what you said about the goosebumps? I was getting excited myself because
Yeah.
literally, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about myself, other people. Like he's right. Like he is right. Like we're all self-contained by our own excuses and limitations, and you do such a great job of shattering that, man. So kudos on that. So
Do you know what? Sorry, just
yeah.
another quick addition to that. What really inspired me, like 2 years ago, maybe, was when I was watching my son. He was watching YouTube. And you probably heard of this dude. I didn't know who he was at the time, but his name's Mr. Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and this guy was like giving away $1 million, or like the Halloween just gone. I've started watching some of his stuff now. The Halloween just gone by. He was giving out iPhones instead of candy. And then when he ran out of iPhones, he gave some kid the keys to this like 4 bedroom, 3 car garage house. And I'm like, I want to do cool stuff like that. I want to be able to take all this wealth and see an opportunity and go, like build an entire community just for homeless veterans and fund the whole thing myself. No red tape, no bureaucracy, no bullshit. No, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'll be like, right, I want to buy that land, I want to build those houses, and I want to offer them. to people that are homeless and just do cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, man, I have a feeling that it's going to happen. And then I'm going to probably pull out this clip, say, hey, he said that on my show.
Hey, another thing I'm thinking of when we came on and you said about being in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get out to America this year with Sam, hopefully early August, late July for like 2 weeks or so. And we don't have a firm plan of what we're going to do yet, but we're going to try and do a bit of a fundraising tour and get on some podcasts with Jocko and, you know, some big names out there. But when I first got injured, I remember thinking, how cool would it be with prosthetics to walk up the steps that Rocky runs up in the movie with prosthetic legs on? And so, you know, if we can get out this year or maybe next year, and I'll make my way to Philadelphia, and it won't be pretty, you know, walking upstairs with prosthetics. But I noticed in the film they're quite shallow and long. But it'd just be cool, man. I'm going to give it a shot if I can get out there and just for myself.
You have to let me know, because I want to be there and cheer you on, and we could talk offline. But if you do make it to Philadelphia, let me know, because really, really solid BJJ community, MMA community. And if you need some spots to hit up while you're here, some great people around. I wanted to end with this question. You talk about the business and doing all the cool stuff you're doing now. Mark, you mentioned at the very beginning of this about the unenviable title of the first triple amputee in combat in so many years, right? So being that triple amputee, I know it is part of who you are, but do you ever get tired and you want people to see that, yeah, it's who I am, but it's not who I am. I'm Mark, and there's more.
Yep. And that's why I'm doing all these things that I do. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole thing we just talked about with the business, that, you know, swimming and breaking a world record with one arm, that's kind of around my disability. Cycling is because I've got a hand bite, it's around my disability. Even the jiu-jitsu stuff, because I'm a triple amputee, it's all focused on disability. But the whole business thing, disability is no issue in any of that. I'm on the level playing field with everybody else. So this is kind of also an opportunity for me to scratch a bit of a personal itch and be like, I'm not just the triple amputee. You know, I am Mark. This is all working. My brain is fully functional. You know, I can learn like anyone can learn, and I can achieve like anyone can achieve. It's not, none of this will be based on, oh, look at the poor triple amputee, let's give him a chance. This is going to be based on, holy shit, that dude's a savage. Look what he's gone out and achieved.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And Mark, I mean this with all due respect personally. When I first saw of you, I used to, in my mind, it would always be the dude with one arm, right? Over the years, I mean, and listen, and I'm so grateful for this, personally getting to know you somewhat and talk to you. I mean, but it just, even through your content, man, it's now more like what you just said. Mark Ormrod's a goddamn savage, and it's really amazing to see. And it's encouraging, and I think you are doing so much for so many people. Where can people get a hold of you, check you out? What do you want to take a look at? Anything coming up?
Oh, everywhere, man. I'm Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, WeAre8, markormrod.com. I'm everywhere.
Well, I'll make sure I have at least a big section for all the links in this episode so they can get a hold of you easily, man. But Mark, thanks again, brother. I wish you nothing but the best. And I just can't wait to see all that you're going to still accomplish, man. It's truly amazing. And listen, I'll say this, man. The end of the day, man, your kids are going to look back and go, God damn, that was my dad. He's amazing, amazing dude, man. And that's, I think, the best legacy you're going to leave, my brother. So good on you.
Yeah. If everything else went away tomorrow, that one thing will make me happy.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, everyone, thanks a lot. Check out Mark Ormrod. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.
This has been the Bare Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.